We're right on time. I guess we'll start and then if other people jump in, then that would be great. So hello everyone, welcome to Tech Exposition. My name is Harry Ezenibe from Canada, founder of HarryCares Foundation. Today I have with me an international netball player at 7-star, who was a former captain of England, bronze gold medalist at the Commonwealth Game and an MBE recipient from the British Empire. Ama Agbeze, welcome to Tech Exposition.
Thanks, Harry.
Yeah, okay, so we start out, just tell us briefly about yourself. What are your hobbies, interests, or values, or even passions that you have?
Yeah, so as you said, I play netball, and it's funny because people always ask what are my hobbies, and I'm like, I've not got time for anything. So netball has pretty much taken over or commanded a lot of my time over the past 2 decades. I do have a law degree and a master's in finance, and I do a lot of public speaking, a little bit of media work, commentating on games, and things. And I did used to love traveling before COVID. But yeah, netball pretty much training, recovery, analysis and things pretty much take up most of my time as a professional athlete. And then there's a lot of things that you're not allowed to do. So yeah, so there's not many hobbies that I can do.
That's amazing. I know it's interesting hearing you say that because this coming from my experience as well. Similar, playing basketball, like you feel occupied every time, but it helps us build a lot of time management and organizational skills, which I think is really huge afterwards. And it's amazing to hear that you got your finance going on as well. I'm gonna have to come to you to get some calculations done.
Yeah, my parents, I did law first and didn't really enjoy it, but finished it and have done bits and pieces of law, like through my time of being a professional athlete as well. But I did a master's in finance and actually I really loved that. But I'm still, I guess I'm coming to the end of my netball career, so trying to figure what exactly it is that I'm going to do.
That's amazing. So you received the MBE, which is the most excellent order of the British Empire, if I'm correct. And talk to us about that. What does that mean to be a recipient of that?
Yeah, so an MBE is an honour basically bestowed upon you by the Queen, and you usually get it in recognition of outstanding achievement or service to the community for a long period of time, and having significant impact. And so it is as basically an honour, and you basically get you can get nominated, and then there's a committee of people that it goes through and they assess whether you should or shouldn't get it. And then I think it's ratified by ministers, and then essentially the Queen ticks off on whether the people should have it. So it's meant to be a top thing. So I'm really honoured to have received it.
Congratulations once more. So thinking about sports in general, like what role did sport play in making you who you are today? Did technology make a huge difference in creating, the impact needed to propel your career? How did that kind of tie in?
Yeah, I think sport basically has just completely shaped me. My parents, being Nigerian, pushed and pushed and pushed on education, and I made sure that I got a good education. But I think sport has basically shaped me into the individual that I've become in terms of, as you mentioned earlier, time management. I think communication skills, you have to learn to deal with managing up and managing down. So talking to older people and management, and then also as captain, dealing with the youngest member of the squad to the oldest member, the CEO, managing directors, just talking to a lot of people. And I'm quite shy as a person, but I've had to sort of overcome that because of netball pushing me into different directions and having to give speeches and things like that. And then also it's enabled me to travel around the world, doing what it is that I apparently love doing. It seems like a hard work, but I guess deep down I do love it. But yeah, I think technology has definitely helped me along the way. I think these days more so, sports tech is more accessible to everybody, but I think when I first started, it was almost just an innovation that was reserved for elite athletes. So things like force plates, which measure like the power you have and the time you're off the ground, and little reactions and how you land and different things like that. So it's been, yeah, an incredible journey. I think analysis tools. So I think as an athlete, one of the biggest things for me, or as an athlete generally, is feedback. And so there's no point doing stuff and aimlessly doing it and sort of not being able to quantify that. And so I think analysis for me is probably the biggest thing that's helped me. So video analysis tools that can be coded. So when I go to watch play, rather than a netball match is 1 hour, so rather than having to scroll back to 1 hour, it's basically instantly coded as the game's going on. And so I can go back and say, I want to watch every single sideline pass or every time I receive the ball in a certain area of the court and different things like that. So it just makes it so much easier to assess what you've done and then go back and practice. And then I think in terms of that big focus of the game, but then also individual things. So in the gym, like measuring movements and reactions and different things. So I think sports tech has definitely just steered me in the right direction and helped me to go from being just a general athlete to being at the top of my game.
That's amazing. I mean, it's great that you mentioned a lot of these key points, and I'll give you a direct feedback. You're not a shy person. You're a great communicator, and you've done really, really good for yourself as well. And this is really interesting. Another key part we got to look into here is Africa, right? So why should Africa care about sports and technology? Because what you've mentioned, I think, are really, really key areas of investment, especially with technological tools. Do you think we should care about this in Africa?
Yeah, definitely. I think Africa actually is so innovative, and they're always, I think, looking for solving problems. So rather than approaching it in, well, it's not possible, they constantly are looking for, well, we'll fix it or we'll do this better. And actually the sports tech industry is booming, and I think, as I explained earlier, it's becoming more accessible to the general public. And so I think the general public want more and more feedback with things. So the way fans interact with sport, the way I was saying elite level athletes try and push themselves. Well, actually now it's just every single person. So every athlete, every member of the public wants to know what it is they're doing, how they're doing it, can they track it, can they make themselves better, can they share links with other people, whether they know them or not. And I think the industry, I think in 2 years' time, the industry is meant to be worth about 35 billion US dollars. And so actually, it's just a great area, I think, to tap into. And I think Africa is a hidden gem that people haven't, the rest of the world hasn't yet discovered. And so actually, if you can put yourself at the forefront of the sports tech industry, I think it will be really good. It basically will put you on the map. People will be listening and have their eyes open. And I think it's an area where people are willing to invest, willing to accept more and be open. So it's definitely something that Africa should aim towards and go forward with.
Definitely. That's amazing. We're running behind schedule a little bit now. We got a minute, so we can take in any questions necessary. But just quickly, think about this. I know 2020 has been a crazy year for all of us globally. How did that help you in general with use of technology and sports? What impact? And the next thing is, what message do you have for young girls who aspire to be in your position? I think this is one of the most important questions, because you're a real figure, a public figure for a lot of girls that they aspire to be. And it's really important to a lot of young girls to realize that sports is something they could also use for empowerment and, bridging that gender gap. So what response do you have to that? Probably just quick 30 seconds.
Yeah, so in terms of technology, it's helped, I guess, probably the same way that everyone else in terms of video conferencing and that kind of thing. That's probably the main thing that's mainstream. But I think in terms of girls, I think every girl should aspire to be an athlete, and you don't necessarily have to aspire to be an elite athlete. I think sport helps in so many different ways. As I said, I talked about what it brought to me. You mentioned some things that it brought to you, and those things can transfer to any walk of life, and they really work in business. I think it teaches you how to push yourself and how to strive, and getting knocked back and coming back and asking for feedback and receiving feedback, which a lot of people aren't ready for in general life. And so I think every girl should definitely go forward and try and have a career in sport, whether it's at the elite level or any other level. I think also it's amazing for physical health and wellness. So I think throughout your life, in order to engage your brain and keep it alert, you need to physically be active. And so I definitely think every girl, every boy, every person in Africa needs to think about their mental health, their general wellness, and also how sport can move them forwards, not just in the field of sports. I think in the olden days, my parents thought sport was just sport, but actually sport is a tool for moving yourself forward. So I think it's a great thing to get into.
No, thank you very much for sharing your experiences. I mean, we're actually overscheduled, but I really, really appreciate you sharing this insight. This is something really integral for a lot of people to listen to. You know, we're open for questions for one more minute if anyone has any specific questions. But if there are no questions, this has been a great session. Thank you very much. Let's see. Yeah, I think we don't have any specific questions here. But I mean, Ama Agbeze, thank you once more for being part of this lightning talk with me. You really shared great insights, and I really appreciate it. And I hope a lot of ladies out there, women, and also men, learned a lot from your experiences. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks, Harry.